Good afternoon, everyone. My name is ChintanTrivedi. I'm here to talk about my capstone project, geospatial analysis of the number of active fuel supply equipment registered in Oregon under the Clean Fuels program. Here is the agenda or outline of the presentation. Now, the Oregon Clean Fuels Program, administered by Oregon Department of Environmental Quality, also known as Oregon DEQ, is one of Oregon's most successful statewide policies for addressing the state's contribution to global climate change. The policy goal of the program is to reduce the carbon intensity of Oregon's transportation fuels by establishing annual standards that decrease over time. In the Clean Fuels program, the fuels lower than annual standard generate credits, while fuels higher than the annual standard generate deficits. As we progress in this presentation, I will use the word program or CFP for Oregon Clean Fuels Program. Fuel supply equipment, FSC. It is the term that the Clean Fuels Program uses to describe the fueling equipment that dispenses alternative fuel into vehicles. Fuel providers register their FSC to generate credits in the program. The U.S. Department of Energy, also known as US DOE, collects information like FSC in the form of alternative fueling stations, AFS. As we progress in this presentation, I will use the word FSC for fuel supply equipment and the word AFS for alternative fueling stations. Now, there is not a lot of literature that exists that show how regulations such as Clean Fuels Program have impacted the number of FSCs or their relationship with demographics. Hence, this study aims to analyze at the county level how the number of active FSCs registered in the program is related to Oregon's demographics. In doing so, it will showcase the count of active FSCs in the Clean Fuels program and how it compares with the number of AFS reported to US DOE. This study will also provide information on the number of active FSCs registered in the program for each county and detail the current demographic status of Oregon. Ultimately, it will examine any spatial relationship between the number of active FSCs in the program and Oregon's demographics. The study area is the state of Oregon, and here's the reference map of that. Portland, right over here, is the largest city of the state. Salem, over here, is the capital of the state. Corvallis is where Oregon State University is located, and Eugene is where University of Oregon is located. As you can see, I-5 runs north to south through the state, connecting all the major urban centers and serving as a significant corridor for transportation of commerce. There are four main categories of data sets used in this study. A reference map data set. It included point, line, and polygon vector data. These are the examples of those. These are the actual data sets, the type of the data that were used. Then there was a demographic data set, a tabular data set. This is population, housing unit, and employer establishment is the one that was used. Alternative fueling station, again, a tabular data set. These are the fuel types that were included in the data set. Fuel supply equipment, a tabular one as well. These are the fuel types that were part of that data set. Essentially, the U.S. Department of Energy and Oregon Clean Fuels Program collects and maintains similar information, but there are 2 to 3 key differences among them. One major difference is related to EVSC chargers, which is shown in this figure. If you follow the green line, it shows that there are 3 EVSC ports. These number of ports are the ones that get reported as alternative fuel stations to U.S. Department of Energy for electricity fuel type. If you follow the red line, you can see that there are 2 EVSC charger posts or stations at this location. And this is what gets registered as FSC with the Oregon Clean Fuels program. The rest of the differences are displayed in the results section of this presentation. The overall workflow of the project involved data acquisition, data preparation and comparative analysis, GIS operations, advanced spatial analysis, and conclusion. Upcoming slides will provide a peek at each of these steps. The reference map and the demographic data were downloaded from platforms such as US Census Bureau, Oregon GeoHub, Oregon Spatial Data Library. Then the AFS data was downloaded from US Department of Energy's website using their online AFS locator tool. And lastly, the FSC data was requested from and provided by the Oregon DEQ Clean Fuels Program. The FSC data that was received from the Clean Fuels Program was from 2016 to September 30th of this year. Hence, the same end date was also used for the AFS dataset. The difference between FSC and the AFS datasets were addressed in the data preparation step by selecting 4 common fuel types between 2 datasets, which are shown in the column of this first column of this table here. This involved identifying and/or aggregating these categories wherever applicable. For example, LNG and CNG fuel types of the AFS dataset were aggregated as CNG fuel type because FSC data treats CNG and LNG fuel types as one. The overall total number of FSC and AFS for each fuel type category were calculated and are shown in column 2 and 4. And lastly, as shown in columns 3 and 5, the total number of FSC and AFS were calculated based on each comparable fuel type as well as electricity fuel type subcategories. All GIS operations were performed in Esri ArcGIS Pro 3.2, including the preparation of the input file for advanced spatial analysis. Now, after importing all vector and tabular data into ArcGIS Pro, the projected coordinate system was changed to Oregon Statewide Lombard Coordinate System, as it is endorsed by Oregon Geographic Information Council as a standard projection for GIS applications. Then, one by one, all the tabular data except AFS data was joined to the Oregon County polygon vector data. Once all the joins were made, univariate maps were created. That is, these are graduated color choropleth maps that uses one variable. We did that to understand countywide status of our key data sets, example, housing units. Then bivariate maps were created, which are graduated choropleth map that uses 2 variables. These were created to explore any spatial relationship between 2 variables, example, number of FSC and housing units. And lastly, an input file was created that included information of all the county polygon, the total FSC, and the demographic data for advanced spatial analysis in a software called Geoda. Geoda is a software program that supports spatial analysis. Spatial autocorrelation analysis was performed in this software. The aim was to study the county-level spatial relationship between the number of active FSCs registered in the program and each demographic variable. That means we dealt with 2 variables, and to properly perform the analysis, local spatial autocorrelation statistics is best suited for that. As a result, bivariate local Morans I was used in Geoda to generate Moran scatter plot, a LISA cluster map, and a LISA significance map. LISA is an acronym for Local Indicators of Spatial Association. The results of the comparative analysis of the FSC and the AFS dataset showed that there are overall 4,326 active FSCs registered in the Oregon Clean Fuels Program and 3,090 AFS reported to US Department of Energy. And you can see the distribution in this graph. This table shows a comparison matrix of the data registered as FSC to the Oregon Clean Fuels Program and the data reported as AFS to the US Department of Energy. The first section, right over here, shows the difference among the fuel type codes being collected and maintained by the program, and that is Clean Fuels Program, and the US Department of Energy. And second section, which is right over here, shows the difference in the electricity fuel type related subcategories that are being collected and maintained by the Clean Fuels Program and the US Department of Energy. The next slide shows the comparison of the total number of FSC and the total number of AFS based on the common fuel type codes, as well as common electricity fuel type related subcategories, as seen in this table. This comparison showed that there are 3,568 active FSCs registered in the Oregon Clean Fuels Program and 3,017 alternative fuel stations reported to the US Department of Energy. And you can see the distribution in this graph. Here are the univariate maps of the demographic distribution in the Oregon counties. Each county of Oregon in the top right represents total employer establishment. The bottom right map represents total housing units, and the bottom left map represents the total population. In each map, you can see the graduated colors that indicate low to high distribution of the demographic variable at the county level. Here is the univariate map of countywide distribution of the number of active FSCs registered in the program. This map reveals the current status of the number of active FSCs registered in each county of Oregon. Here are the bivariate maps that shows the countywide exploratory spatial relationship between the number of active FSCs registered in the program and the Oregon demographics. For each county of Oregon, the top right map represents FSC versus employer establishment, the bottom right map represents FSC versus housing units, and the bottom left map represents FSC versus total population. In each map, you can see a high-to-high spatial relationship between the concentration of FSCs and each demographic variable represented by a violet color. And these are the counties that are along I-5 corridor. You can also see that some of the center and eastern counties represent a low-to-low relationship between FSC and the demographic variable, which is represented in a pastel green, light green color. This slide shows the result of spatial autocorrelation performed using bivariate local Moran's I. Here are three figures. The figure 12 is at the top, which shows the result of spatial autocorrelation between FSC and population. In the middle is the figure 13, which shows the results of spatial autocorrelation between FSC and housing units. And 14 is the one that shows spatial autocorrelation between FSC and employer establishments. For all three figures, on the left is a LISA cluster map, where you can see red and blue color are pretty much dominant in all three figures. These, which suggests that FSCs have a positive autocorrelation of high and low values with each of the demographic variables. You can see for all three figures, in the center is a LISA significance map, showing that in about 36% of counties in the top map, 33% of counties in bottom and the center map, the FSCs appear to be positively autocorrelated. That is spatially dependent to the magnitude of, and the magnitude of this dependence is stronger than the observed 95% to 99.99% of random scenarios. Lastly, for all three figures in the right is the Moran scatter plot, where the x-axis shows total FSC and the y-axis shows the lagged demographic variable in each figure. The Moran's I for all three figures is about 0.22. A positive value of Moran's I indicates that the FSC has neighboring demographic variables with similarly high or low values. It is observed that the majority of dots in each of the scatter plot are accumulated in upper right and lower left sectors. This shows spatial autocorrelation of FSCs to the demographic variables being positive. That is, if the value of the number of FSC in a particular county is high, the values of each demographic variable is also high, and vice versa. So the study concluded that FSC and AFS datasets are similar but different, showcasing more FSC registrations and more detailed dataset collected and maintained by Oregon Clean Fuels Program compared to AFS reporting to US Department of Energy. The study found that the highest number of active FSCs were registered in the most populated counties with the highest number of housing units and employer establishments. The study indicated a high-to-high relationship between the number of active FSCs and demographic variables along the I-5 corridor. And ultimately, the study concluded a positive correlation between the number of active FSCs registered in the program and the demographic variables, demonstrating a spatially dependent relationship. Thank you. Any questions?